Did you know that a king of Cambodia was assassinated because he had converted to Islam? You see, Muslim merchants began sailing through the waters of Southeast Asia in the late 600s on a mission to build a trade route from China all the way to East Africa. And while they were there, they began giving da'wah to the locals, and many small kingdoms in Malaysia and Indonesia began to emerge, and soon a chain reaction occurred. Royalty from one kingdom would intermarry with royalty from another, and soon many other kingdoms would also convert to Islam as well. And one of those kingdoms that was in the process of converting to Islam was Champa, a nation which resided in the southern half of modern-day Vietnam. At the time, Champa was a major trading hub as it controlled the waterways between China and India. And because of this, it had fierce competition with the Khmer Empire in the west and the Dai Viets in the north. In 950, the Khmer sacked the Champa port of Kauthara, killing many and taking off with as much loot as they could carry. This was then followed up by the Dai Viets, who declared war on Champa in 982. For the next 100 years, Champa fought a series of wars against the Khmer Empire and the Dai Viets. Several times Champa was brought to its knees, but each time it managed to get back up and strike back at its enemy. But soon that would all change when a final attack by the Dai Viets dealt a lethal blow to the Cham people, and the kingdom of Champa would never rise again. In 1459, a new king would rise among the Dai Viets, the most powerful emperor the nation had ever seen. For 12 years, he worked to build up his nation's military, and in 1471, he launched a war of aggression to once and for all destroy the kingdom of Champa. He began his attack in February, and within a few weeks, he managed to surround the capital city of Vijaya and put it under siege. For 4 long days, the Chams and the Dai Viets fought each other in constant battle, with the Dai Viets trying to scale the walls of the city and the Chams trying to defend. Finally, after the 4th day, the Dai Viets managed to blast through one of the walls of the city before pouring in and storming the city. Over 100,000 Chams were killed in the aftermath, including the Cham king, and another 30,000 were taken as slaves. It was a complete and utter disaster for the Cham people. All that remained of the kingdom of Champa were the 2 provinces of Kauthara and Panduranga in the very south. But then something very strange happened. After this disaster, the Cham people began building ties with the Muslim kingdom of Kelantan in Malaysia. And this is when Cham society began to rapidly change. Soon, Kelantan began sending their scholars and imams to Champa, and many of the Cham people began traveling to Kelantan to study Islam. Then in 1622, the last Hindu king was overthrown, beginning a new lineage of Muslim rulers in the country. There was a Muslim Sultan and a Muslim court, and by now the Cham people had become a Muslim majority nation. It seemed as if the Muslim ummah would have a new country join as part of it. And by the way, if you want to support the channel and help me pay my editors, you can sign up for my Patreon, link in the YouTube video description or on my TikTok profile. Anyway, but what was most surprising of all was that a new Muslim ruler would emerge alongside them, this time amongst their historic rivals to the west. The Khmer Empire had long fallen, but the Khmer people continued as the country of Cambodia. And there, in 1614, a prince by the name of Ponhia Chan was born. After his older brother, who was king at the time, died in 1640, Ponhia Chan was next in line for the throne. But in a sudden betrayal, his cousin usurped the throne, taking his kingdom away from him. Ponhia Chan was furious at this treachery, and with the help of some Muslim mercenaries from Malaysia and Champa, he managed to assassinate his cousin in 1642 and take back his throne. Grateful to the Malays and the Chams for their support, Ponhia Chan eventually converted to Islam, taking the name Sultan Ibrahim and marrying a Muslim Malay woman, becoming Cambodia's first and only Muslim ruler on the throne. During his rule, he welcomed Japanese Christian refugees that had escaped persecution from their government and Chinese refugees who had escaped the Mongol invasions of their country. He also fought a war with the Dutch, defeating them in a naval battle and expelling them from his country. His ascension marked the height of Muslim rule in mainland Southeast Asia. There were now 2 kingdoms ruled by Muslims, but as we all know, neither of those 2 kingdoms would last. The Dai Viets still had their eyes set on defeating Champa once and for all, and they were weary of their new allies in Cambodia. So they began a new invasion of Champa, annexing Kauthara in 1653. Tens of thousands of Chams then fled the region, seeking refuge in Cambodia under the protection of the Muslim ruler. And there the Cham people spread out throughout the country and began to flourish. But soon this would bring trouble to the Sultan. The Sultan's brothers were unhappy with his conversion from Buddhism to Islam and with the new influx of Muslims in their country. And so they began plotting behind his back to overthrow him. Seeing the Dai Viets as a potential ally, they orchestrated a coup with them. And in 1658, a Dai Viet army invaded Cambodia, deposed Sultan Ibrahim, and brought him back as a prisoner to the heart of Vietnam. There he rotted away in a prison, alone and forgotten, until he was eventually assassinated the following year in 1659. The Muslim ruler of Cambodia had fallen, and the last stronghold of Champa had fell to the Dai Viets in 1692. These two nations, who were once ruled by Muslims, were long forgotten to the world, and in both Cambodia and Vietnam, the Chams still live on as a Muslim minority, a testament to the great Muslim rulers who used to rule these nations and the flourishing of Islam in the region. Like and follow for more Muslim facts.